All right, welcome to YWR. We have a special treat. You've been asking for him, and so today we have Jeremy Gray to chat about the gold price, precious metals, tungsten, and give us an update on all of his operations because he's been really busy and he does actually have some pretty exciting news as well. So, Jeremy, good to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, great, Eric. Really great to be back on YWR and very, very bullish. Very, very bullish gold for the second half. Getting very excited about this move to 7,000 by Christmas.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it has been. We had a really good start to the year, and it really was just kept making new highs, and the momentum was very consistent. And then it got into a wobble around the Iran war, the rise in the oil price, kind of a lot of the correlations just went kind of flipped, and you had oil spiking and gold. It seemed like this weird correlation, which I'm not sure I've seen before, where the oil price is going up and gold's going down. Um, but I think, would you just say, look, the general big picture is intact, or what's your view?
Yeah, I tend to ignore the narratives, which are probably AI generated, and every day there's a different narrative on gold. All you need to know is an epic bull market that we are in is never easy, and the bull's going to try and buck you at every turn and possible event it can. And a lot of people have been bucked off the bull, and a lot of people have given up on the space. But meanwhile, the demand for physical is still incredibly high. China's demand is very strong, so it's all down to physical demand is much stronger and keeps getting stronger. And the paper markets, I think, have been highly manipulated in trying to hold the market down. So, yeah, look, it's a matter of time before we start bust back through 5,000 and then head up to 7,000 by Christmas. A lot of people say that's very aggressive, but we do tend to make aggressive calls. We made that one in September 24 when gold was 2,100, saying that gold would hit 4,500 by the Christmas of 25. So, same thing, nothing's changed. The market's extremely strong, and I'll be buying up every bombed out gold mining equity you can get your hands on.
Yeah, the tricky thing about gold, is it doesn't put out press releases, right? Like it doesn't do anything. It's kind of it just trades where it trades, and we try to make up narratives or understand and imply what the price means. And um, I personally just, I mean, thinking back to the bear market from 2012 to kind of 18, and I mean, that was deficits were rising. There was 0% interest rate. There was all the, if you were a gold bull, there was everything there to be bullish on gold. And it just didn't work for a few years. And I just, for me, it was a lesson that this is very hard to try to call or time. And you kind of just got to just stay long and sit through it. But also, I would just say another thing from that period, and hey, this is just my opinion, but that was a tremendous bear market from 2000. I mean, I guess the one before it going into when the Bank of England sold their gold was probably the even bigger bear market, but it was a pretty it was a pretty big bear market to go, like I think gold got to 2000 or something and or 1700 in 2012 and didn't really kind of make that back till 2021, 2022. I mean, you kind of it was kind of like 10 years where it had gone sideways.
24. It didn't make that back to 24. Yeah, so you're in a 12-year bear market.
Yeah, if you just bought there back in 2012 on the highs, you're like
Yeah,
you kind of waited over 10 years to get back to where it was.
yeah,
So I feel like that was a tremendous thing for gold bulls to sit through and endure, which most did. And so I think that's earned the right to have and now a really good, relatively consistent bull market. I mean, that's just a personal opinion. Like just the gold bulls have put in the hard work. And so, but yes, you do get these. I mean, even in the one from 2002 to 2007, which we remember, there were always 25, 30% shakeouts. Is it over? Is it still going? No one know. And you really just had to, just hard to predict when they were going to happen, and then hard to predict how, when they would turn around. And um, but it's just kind of part of the markets, right? You think
yeah.
it's easy money, but it's not.
One analogy a lot of the smart guys are talking about was the sell-off from 200 down to $98 over 12 months, and it bottomed out in August of 96 of 76 at
Oh,
$98 in 1976, and then it ran to 800 over the next 4 years. So A lot of people go back to that sell-off, or how a lot of people, the market gave up. And maybe we've been through one of the exactly what you talked about, those washouts where you pretty much give up. Everyone moves on. They're now chasing something else. And but these pullbacks now, when you're in a mega bull market, tend to be very violently. Well, they tend to not last for more than 4 months. What are we now? We're 5 months into this,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think we're about to really take off again.
One other just, I mean, again, I'm cautious because with these correlations and talking about things, but you have 4% inflation and you have the 10-year only at 4.5. I mean, you got people talk about, the interest rates and, the relative trade of owning gold, which doesn't yield something versus a 10-year bond. But just it's interesting that bond yields are quite low relative to inflation, which is generally supposed to be positive for gold. But thank you, Jeremy. So I guess we just have to sit through it, and I hope we've sat through this washout reset a little bit. Just
Yeah,
as a side thing, I look at ETF flows. They were really big. Generally, they're over the since last 5 years, there haven't been that many. There hasn't been much of an inflow into gold in developed market ETFs. A little bit of a bit stronger inflows into the Asian ETFs, but it's people have been more focused on tech. Gold has not had a big surge of inflows like Bitcoin did, or so I just I find that comforting. That doesn't seem like a bubble asset. One other thing, I look at futures positioning. It's middle of the road. If you look back over history, net long positions quite moderate. So there's nothing. Just trying to look for red flags or check the health signals, and it looks, there's nothing. It's not like super negative either, but just, we've had there's nothing extreme in terms of inflows or positioning
yeah,
to say why this is some, to maybe make us cautious. But we're gonna um talk about some of the gold operations, but I wanted to take a quick diversion to an even hotter metal, which you have kind of stumbled into a few years ago, but turned into the hottest metal on the planet. In fact, wouldn't you say, Jeremy, it's become so hot it's almost unattainable?
yeah. You can't buy you can literally cannot buy tungsten. And you're right. And I want to thank everyone who supported us. We've raised $20 million for pure tungsten that commissioned in for about 4 weeks in Korea. And yeah, you can't buy the stuff. You literally can't get hold of it. There's no supply. The industry is devoid of investment for 50 years. It is the hottest commodity in the world. And do you know why it hasn't corrected? Do you know why usually, when cocoa or orange juice or some of these hot commodities do those crazy moves, they do tungsten's up 10 times. Like usually they do a 4x. And why is it that you think that tungsten hasn't corrected this time?
Um, I don't know, because there's a war going on with Iran or something, or what do you think it is?
There's a lot of good fundamental arguments like the ban on exports from China, the wars, there's no supply. But I think the real reason why the market hasn't corrected is because there's no futures or options market on tungsten.
Hmm.
So
You can't trade it.
you can't trade it and you cannot manipulate it. Where
Hmm.
we all know the oil market, the gold market, every commodity is heavily manipulated to the downside. And this one's kind of, at the moment at least, it's doing its own little thing. It's totally driven by pure physical demand and supply. And that's why it could just keep going. It ran from $32,000 a ton to 320, and I wouldn't be surprised we see $500,000 a ton. Now let's put that in perspective. Copper these days goes for I think $15,000 a ton. Zinc goes for like $4,000 a ton. Nickel goes for like I think 17,000, and we're at $320,000 a ton. And I don't think it's going down anytime soon. Yeah, so really amazing space to be in.
And the big listed ones are, I'm trying to think, are Guardian Metals and Almonte, right? Is Guardian Metals in production?
No, the really big one outside of obviously Almonte is the famous one, and that's just turned on its production in Shandong, which is 30 miles down the road from us, where we're at Sanjong in Korea. The big one that's had a come back from the ashes is EQ Resources in Australia,
Okay.
operation in Spain also, and that's like a 1.5 billion market cap. I think that's done a 10x. I think our Monty's done a 30x, and
Yeah.
at its highs did probably a 20x. But
Yeah.
Guardian, what we found is there's a brilliant summer intern that's joined us, and she's actually done a study on every project in the West, and there's literally no one coming on stream apart from Pure Tungsten and our Monty in the next 12 to 18 months. So basically, Korea is doing all the heavy lifting, and all of these other projects are trying to kind of come in on 2, 3, 4 years out. So there's no supply. When China,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm trying to think. I think I remember Guardian was just kind of some pictures of some desert somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
It's just,
It's in Nevada, I think,
yeah,
or
that's what I was remember. Trying to say Nevada or
yeah.
Arizona or somewhere.
These things always take years to get permitted, and they try and rush them through. And then there's a lot of these where they're doing tailings recovery from the old tailings mine
Mm.
100 years ago. But again, there's no one sure if they'll even recover much of those old tailings. So the market is extraordinarily tight. All sorts of crazy stories about tungsten hydrofluoride, which is now suddenly stopping potentially
Oh,
imports from Japan to the Korean semiconductor industry. All sorts
yes,
of crazy
that is
stuff.
a big story that they're not exporting that. That gas is apparently important for semiconductors. The Japanese process it, but they don't have the raw concentrate, and so they've halted exports of that gas to
Yeah,
Taiwan. Yes, that is a big thing.
to Korea.
Oh,
To Korea.
sorry, to Korea.
Yeah. So yeah, no, also, it's really amazing market. I wouldn't be surprised if the space just keeps going up. And yeah, Pure Tungsten. Thank you everyone for supporting the round. Look, we're going to keep it open for one last week for your listeners. Tiger's kind of growling at me for keeping this open, but the support's been amazing. But I would definitely have a look at this one at 50 cents. It's 1/50th the valuation of our next door neighbor,
What
Almont.
is the valuation at this round?
It's 135 Canadian. And
Yeah,
our next door neighbor, our Monty's 7 billion Canadian.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's 1/50th. I've worked out the other day, 1/50th our next door neighbor. And look, that's the way we roll. We like to get our guys, make them lots of money because then they'll come back and do another deal with us.
And so, guys, just Jeremy's. I I bugged him. I said, look, we cannot talk about tungsten and not have an opportunity to be able to invest in it. So they're kind of done with this raise and but just look, kind of if last call thing, if you just, reach out to him
No,
if you want to, but they're kind of done with this. And so it's been it's been very a lot of demand for it and they kind of just we'll see. I mean, there's always risk to everything in mining and anything can happen. There can be delays and problems, but um, it seems like the price of this raise has stayed low while the fundamentals of tungsten have gone up a lot.
oh yeah,
A lot. So, and also kind of, a little bit interesting also that the raise has, it helps that if you're always that guy that wants to see, what does it say in markets? Like everyone wants to be first to be second, right? So it's always helpful to see that the company has already raised money and you get to tag along at the end. But anyways, so I think we'll have a link for that if you want to learn more about pure tungsten. But the other thing is, so switching back to gold,
mm.
you have some great news um, coming from Norway.
Norway is full of amazing people. They're not just a very good football team. They also have Svein Harold and Niels, who are our management team, and they've successfully listed Gold Road yesterday, July the 1st, on the Oslo Bourse. So congratulations to Svein Harold and Niels. And every one of your listeners who came in on that 50-cent round, start of trading, they're up 2.8 times now, but I think don't sell your shares. It's going up a lot more. So yeah, really happy the way.
When did you go to gold? What was that? 2024 or something?
No, it's 25 last year. So we went in May, flew into Vegas.
Less than a year ago or a year ago?
Yeah, a year and 2 months. So we bought it off a group that we've worked with before. They said, "Would you like to buy it?" I said, "No problem." We agreed a price. I flew to Vegas the next day, drove 2 hours down to Oatman, Arizona.
Hmm.
Amazing old Wild West town with lots of donkeys. I fell in love with the mine. I love Jim, Cooley, Raj, Alex, the whole team. And we paid for it. We paid for it 2 months later. We had it producing within 6 months, and that's credit a lot to Jim. And then it listed in, yeah, what was that 14 months since we bought it. So ironically, it's the last mine we bought, but it's the first to produce and the first to list. So that shows you what happens when you're in a bull market, and also shows you what happens when you work with amazing people in Norway, because Norwegians, there's a reason why they're the richest country in the world, right? They're not silly. These guys work hard. They're all they do what they
The
say. And
serious players, they executed. It was, yeah, they're good.
really top professionals. Loved Oslo. Loved the whole. And I think anyone who participated, that stock's going to do extremely well. It's got four other
So you
old.
basically made 3x in just over a year, or
Yeah,
almost under,
yeah,
or just under.
yeah. I think it's going to do. I think it could easily be a 10x.
And this is with the gold price, like it's IPOing at a kind of not great time for the gold. I mean, it's fine, but it's
I
not
have
hot.
I have a feeling that might be the only IPO in gold in the last 3 months because,
Yes, yes.
but it didn't stop the Norwegians. They just march on, right? And they just stick to their deadlines. And yeah, full credit to the team. And very, yeah, really Gold Road. If you ever pass through Oatman, Arizona, and we have an investor trip on Tuesday next week, if you'd like to join us.
Okay.
Jamila and Jennifer are going to be hosting that trip with the team, and would love you to join us next Tuesday. Tuesday the when is that? The 9th or something like that. Tuesday the 7th. Yeah,
Tuesday the 7th, I think.
yeah.
Just a quick word to you, Jeremy. I just love that you got this call about this asset. I remember when it happened, and you're like, look, I think I'm going to go to Arizona. And I'm like, but I'm going to fly into Vegas. And I remember you were like, I don't know if you'd been to Vegas before, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And anyways, it was just you acted very quickly. You jumped on that when you got the call. You went right down there, drove to a very remote part of Arizona. Um, you know, got really involved in chatting with the guy who had managed the asset previously and got really good color. And anyways, I just thought you acted very quickly on that opportunity, and it was just a good sign of how I think, there's always sometimes, it's one of your strengths that you kind of do, you do execute quickly on these things. So moving on, let's uh, let's quickly ask about another Nordic operation, which is Liva.
Mhm.
What is the
Oh,
update with Liva? I see the merger went through. There was the merger with the original company was acquired by Edgemont, I
yeah,
believe. I don't know if the name is, but that was the name. That deal got the shareholders voted to be acquired. The Edgemont applied to list on not the Canadian stock, the CSE,
yeah,
and that was approved. But I think there's one final thing that we're waiting for to see Liva IPO.
yeah. Liva is another an asset we bought in the depths of despair in October of 22. Gold was 1,600. We bought it from the same seller that we bought Gold Road from. It nearly bankrupted us, but it is the biggest gold mill in Europe. I think it's going to be $1 billion company. It's coming out the gates when it lists, I think, at 150 Canadian valuation, which is nothing. It's like 20 cents of replacement value. And I would definitely, it got delayed because the auditors in Finland missed a deadline because it was midsummer 2 weeks ago. And if you've ever been to Finland in midsummer, good luck finding anyone working. So it was just a combination of events that I think, but that's coming, I think, in the next 4 weeks. So Liva Gold, Pilar Gold owns a big chunk of that. We spun that out of Pilar 3 or 4 years ago. So all of our Pilar shareholders got their shares for free. And I would definitely have a look at this one when it comes to market. It's really going to be a great story for next year. Also, Chancery owns 2.5% royalty in this one. We bought that for a cash purchase from, again, the same seller from Gold Road, and we did that transaction in 2 weeks. So yeah, Liva Gold's looking great, but just a little bit delayed. So hang in there, everyone. I think John and Sean are going to do an amazing job as we go into production. Delayed until next summer, but not the end of the world.
Okay. Yeah, like I think that it's one of those things where with the winters there, you kind of if you miss your window a little bit, it pushes you back. But I guess the positive is the gold isn't going anywhere.
No,
Um,
all great.
but then the other one, another situation where you kind of came in on a it's distressed asset at the time, which was Tucano, which has been you're not involved with. I mean, I think a firm, a fund managed, a private equity firm came in and is running it now, taking it over, managing it, and IPOing it. And but it's called a MAPA, isn't it now? A MAPA Minerals.
Yeah. So I've learned, Eric, my skill set is on the private side. I love doing deals on the private side. I love bringing our investors in on private deals at 5 cents in the dollar. But I have zero interest in running a public company because there's a lot of hassle, lawyers, exchanges. You basically have to be a professional lawyer, I think, to be a CEO of a public company these days. And it would just bore me senseless. And I've found that with all our companies, we bring in professional management teams to do that when they're ready to list. And
Mm.
we did that with, yeah, exactly. So Starboard came in, and I was down there only the other day. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
We
we
just
can.
changed the name. My wife always gets angry with me because I always wear these high vis safety shirts to the restaurants and pick at school. But I'm very proud of this one. We bought that in November of 23. Again, market for gold was 1,700. Again, nearly bankrupted at the time, but then Starboard invested 70 million US. Big private equity group in Brazil. They, in equity, not in like they didn't buy like a stake in a different way. So and they came to us and said, "Can we manage it? Can we bring it to market?" I said, "Absolutely." And they're about to list Amapa Minerals in about 3 weeks on the TSX. They have
Yeah.
they have Canaccord, Jefferies, and BMO running that ticket for them. And again, I don't have that skill set. I don't want to be on a 3 week roadshow talking about one stock. I'd rather look for the next deals, look for the next opportunities for our investors, and then bring in these professional types to an amazing management team, Amber Minerals. Ivan and Renan, Renato. These
You were
guys are
showing all the pictures of like all the equipment they brought in, the new conveyor belts, and they've just been hammering away like because it was a distressed asset at the time, and there was a lot of plant there, but it needed touch up, and they kind of did
yeah.
all that
Oh,
work.
I was up there 4 weeks ago, and it was the most emotional trip that I've done in a long time because it nearly bankrupted me. It was costing 500,000 US just to keep it on care and maintenance. In 2024, I was pretty much bankrupt in the summer of 24. Pilar unexpectedly shut down 3 months earlier. I couldn't fund Liva. Ticano, I was 2 months behind salaries. My mum had just died totally out of the blue, and I was bankrupt. And then Starboard, they took their time also to bring the money. But what changed everything was the fact that China came along. The market was 2,100, and they drove it up. And every day I walk past a Chinese person, I go and give them a big hug and burst into tears because they saved our group, and now we're really flying now as a group. But that was a very, very horrible 3 4 months in the middle of 24 when you know you're literally about to go bankrupt on everything. And it was only thanks to the amazing shareholders and supporters that, we've got 2,500 investors now, that they kept writing checks for us and they saved us. And now Amapa Minerals is going to be one of the hottest IPOs in 2026 on the TSX. It's going to
Yeah.
be $1 billion company. We bought it for 3.7 million. It came with 12 million cash. Would you believe that? So this asset is a huge mine called Great Panther had it before, and before that, Beadle Resources, 10,000 tons a day mill, fully built, has its own airport, has accommodation for 200 staff in the middle of the Amazon. And we paid 3.7 million cash, and it came with 12 cash, and yet it still nearly went bankrupt. But that just shows you when you buy big mines on care and maintenance, if the market goes against you, like if the gold price had, instead of going up, had gone down, I'd now be living in a cardboard box in Green Park Tube Station. Then that's how the business works, right? And you're either the hottest thing in town or you're homeless. But yeah, we've really come back
No,
now.
Jeremy, just as a side thing to investing, I think about as well. I think it's often kind of easy to get bullish after something has crashed or to get bullish on the lows, as generally people not some people aren't good at that. There are a lot of people that are naturally attracted to that. I think there's a next stage which really shakes out a lot of people, and it's getting through when it doesn't bounce and it takes longer and it's difficult and I mean, you're in the private space, which is there's one state. I mean, it's one thing if you're holding the equity, and that's a lot easier, although it does shake out a lot of people. The real thing I think that you really um, got got you to the finish line is being able to get through those difficult months that just drag on, where there's a gap and a pause before the momentum, before. And I have to say, you say it's 2,500 investors now. I remember it used to be 400,
Mm.
and it was, really that, and it was really credit to. I actually have this thing that I think retail is becoming the smart money,
Oh,
because you know what I mean. I talk to a lot of people at YWR. I'm amazed how switch on they are. I'm amazed at their ability to like look at opportunities in stocks when they're down, when most institutions are poo-pooing them. And I think, you've had this thing now. A lot of these deals, it was the the wealthy farmer in Canada. It was like this kind of stuff that they get interested in them. And meanwhile, the super, sophisticated hedge fund in Mayfair doesn't want to talk until gold's 5,000, right? And you're like, the guys who came in on these deals at, 10 cents on the dollar, 5 cents on the dollar were, individuals. And when the big institutions were off looking at other things, and they don't wake up until 3 years later, but it's happening now. And I think that's, and you can just see it in the numbers, like raising, over $15 million for pure tungsten, a starboard coming in, like the whole, the flywheel. And it's really, you can see the fundraising and the interest from the broad, the original investors, but now it's getting to be a lot bigger players coming in. Anyway, so just so you can see the evolution, but I feel you there with that. Just as on the investing side, I think often the real distinguishing characteristic is hanging through the difficult times. Finding something sold off and it's cheap and it looks good, great. That is also a skill. But what really breaks people is the long, when there's a winter and you got to get through it. Sorry, so just to say, but
you
I
know,
go on, but we have one more guy to talk about.
can I add one more
Yeah.
thing on that? I
Yeah.
think the other saving grace for us is the fact we didn't go public, because
Mm.
if a being public company entails a cost of a minimum of 2 million US a year, lawyers, listing fees, auditors, it's very expensive to be public. And we have 6 private companies. That would be 12 million US of ongoing cost. And I think that helped us a lot. So only list when you're strong and when you have access to money. Don't go too quickly. A lot in our industry, they can't raise privately. They don't have the amazing investors that we have who backed us on every deal sometimes, and they go too early. And then
Mm.
suddenly their share counts just balloon. They might take some debt, and before you know it, lights out. And so I think being private helps, and then choosing your moment to go public. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because they issue shares to pay for all the fees and yeah. And then
Expensive, very expensive. So
and
the other big one for us at the moment is Pilar Gold. The first mine that we bought in April of 21 from Equinox Gold. Eric, we're inviting everyone to join us on the 13th of July for a 3-day visit to Pilar. We have 10 investors now joining us. This beautiful mine resumes production in September. It went through hell and back. It's now been looking like it's going to be an amazing success story, and I think it might just be the greatest comeback in recent gold mining history. I
what's
really,
that expression in accounting? First in, last out, or something.
yeah,
This was the first one.
this was the first one. It's 4 million ounces, 3 fully developed underground mines, a world-class open pit project called Tres Barracas, 4,500 ton a day mill. The cost to build this today would be at least 600 or 700 US. And we'll price this 30-cent round. When you strip out the stakes that Pilar
So the
has,
price is at it's 30 cent round. What's the implied valuation, or what's the valuation? 150 or
140 Canadian, but
140, which is like $100 million US.
yes, but of that 100 US, at least 50 of that is stakes in We have Pilar owns a big stake in Chancery, and it owns 12 million Canadian worth of Liva shares. So we're pricing this at 10 cents in the dollar. Same kind of deal, the way we roll. And yeah, this is really the interest in Pilar has been phenomenal. And I would not be surprised if we raise 20 million at this round. And we're in such great shape now to restart in September. We're ordering brand new fleet from all places in China. That's just going on the ship tomorrow, the 2 loaders. We've ordered 5 new units from Peru that replaces a lot of the older Sandvik fleet. So if you'd like to join us, would love you to come. We've even hired a huge bus, double-decker bus. Maneko 64, who's on the board, some people might know Maneko 64, he's joining us. We have, a really amazing trip coming on the 13th of July for 3 days.
Now, Jeremy, I don't like to be negative or not. But I just this. So that is awesome. I'm glad the momentum is there and the pickup. But there was because it was one of the first ones you bought it out of. Again, you bought it at a really good price during COVID when there was, no one wanted to own an underground mine in the midst of a Brazilian COVID epidemic. What Now walk us through I mean, there were a couple, there's been, people are like, have been aware that there's been some delays and some challenges for Pilar. What did you have to go through? I mean, what have we been through to get to where we are now?
Yeah. So we bought this beautiful mine in the middle of April of 21, paid 20.5 million cash, which is a lot of cash for someone like us to pay. We had 200 shareholders came in on that one. Gold was 1,700. And within 5 days, I think it was, we had a leak coming from a pipeline that was running tailings from the mill to the tailings dam. And the pipeline ran for 7 kilometers. And there's also a parallel water pipeline. We then had 2 more leaks over the next 3 months. And I'll never forget, I was at my daughter's music concert, and I had a text from Richard Crew, my country manager, saying, the Brazilian government has shut us down. And until we replace 14.6 kilometers of pipeline, we're not allowed to come back. And our lawyer is telling us that could be 6 months. Now, when you have 1,000 staff and it's your only mine, and you're pretty much screwed. And if we were public then, we would have almost certainly gone bankruptcy. It was only the fact that we had amazing shareholders who helped write the checks. It cost us 40 million of lost revenues. We managed to turn it on after 3 months. But when you're a little guy, it's hard to come back from that. And we ran out of money. So in March of 24, we unexpectedly closed. I had to run around trying to find $2 million at the time to turn it back on. No one would give us a cent. Gold was 2,000. And then I never forget, and this is if I'll keep this story short, I woke up in about June, some lovely hot day, June of 24. This is when I was going through the tough patch. About 100 missed WhatsApp text messages from Pilar. And I thought, oh, this doesn't look good.
100 doesn't look good.
And the message was there were 10 police cars parked outside of Pilar's gates with 20 flat tray trucks, and they're coming to collect everything they can get their hands on. Sandvik fleet, the brand new 8 Volvo trucks, generators, you name it. And for the rest of that day, I had pictures flooding my WhatsApp of my beautiful fleet leaving Pilar. And
oh my goodness.
My life flashing by me. And I knew then if I didn't fix this, then word would get out that up at Tucano that Jeremy's gone bankrupt. And then word would get out that in Finland, Jeremy's can't raise the money, and then Liva's gone. And so I'll never forget this. I was at my friend's house and I said, well, screw this, let's go and get drunk. So we went to the pub at 11 o'clock and I just got completely smashed. But the thing I did before that was I rang Guilherme in Sao Paulo, who's my lawyer, and said, Guilherme, what's happening with the JR? The JR is basically like judicial reorganization, Chapter 11. It protects the company. We'd put that application in 2 months before. I said, I'm totally screwed. You've got to help me. He said, okay, let me try and get hold of the judge. Didn't hear from for the whole day. By this time, I'd downed about 10 pints, and I knew that was it, the last at 6:05 in the evening, the last flat tray left with a Volvo truck and some other piece, and half my team, it's kind of said thanks so much, but we're now leaving, and the world's finished, right? I then get a call from Guilherme, and I was like, "Oh, mate, how you?" I was like, I'd had given up. I knew it was the end. That was I was finished. Guilherme said, "I spoke to the judge, and the judge has approved your JR, and he's ordered for all the trucks to come back."
Oh, wow.
And I was on the, I knew then, and I think about it now, that was the most important phone call I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, they turned on that one right there.
The trucks came back 2 years later, everything came back. China started to buy the market, everything started flowing again. And that's why Brazil is the greatest country for guys, little guys like me, because if that had happened in America, Australia, Finland, but you're basically out, right? You're out. You're the little guy, they fuck you. Excuse my language. But
Yeah.
in Brazil, there's always a second chance if you don't give up. And I'm really thankful for Guilherme, my lawyer, that he managed to turn that round. But yeah, now Pilar's thriving. The gold price has doubled. We're about to resume production. The demand for this round at 30 cents is incredible. And I think it's the greatest comeback in recent gold mining history.
Wow. That is a comeback. And a side thing also, but by the way, um, Pilar shareholders, because in the midst, I don't know the time it must have been maybe 22 or something, you did the Liva deal, and Pilar kind of was the structure to do the Liva deal. And so Pilar shareholders have received shares in Liva Gold. So it's almost like you invested in Pilar and you got this like, they're like, oh, by the way, here's some shares of another gold mine for you. And it's
Yeah,
in Finland. It's been like, it was like a really positive surprise.
yeah,
Um,
they get all their money back just on Liva.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so oh sorry, just another so just this to make this point. So yeah, if you're in Pilar, this was kind of been a long drawn out thing and um but in the meantime you kind of got a like a sweetener. Here's, shares in Liva, so now you own two. But going back to the valuation of Pilar, Pilar owns how much of Chancery Royalty does it own? 40%?
30% of Chancery Royalty, which is going to be $1 billion company very soon, and we're
Yeah.
listing royalty in Q4. We've chosen the shell for that, and it owns about 7% of beautiful Finland.
Yeah.
Pilar Gold does.
And
So
so you're saying it's 140 million Canadian, 100, I don't know if the correct, maybe 100 million US or less. And then you think that the Liva and the Chancery stakes are worth how much?
half that
Half?
is
Okay.
just current valuation. Yeah. So yeah, we've really priced this, and I tell you what, I challenge anyone to go and buy 4 million ounces with a business like this so developed. Try and buy that for 300 or 400 million cash. Just try. You won't get it. The market's so tight. No one wants to sell gold mines anymore. And
Yeah.
got lucky in the downturn over those years, thanks to the amazing support of our shareholders, that we managed to pick up all these mines for 5 cents in the dollar. And the difference between us and a lot of these spivvy promoters in Perth and Vancouver is they buy their assets for 5 cents and they then go and offer them out at 70 cents to their shareholders, to their new investors. We buy them at 5 cents and give our shareholders opportunity to participate at 6 cents.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
why,
what was this? No, you buy it at five and sell it for six? Okay.
well, we give
Yeah.
shareholders a chance to get set at pretty much the same price we buy it for.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these promoters, the big names in Vancouver, they don't give you the special deal. So we do that because, look, we'd rather own a little bit of a very successful company than a big percentage of something that's going nowhere. And that's why we move fast. And when we do find an asset, we can raise money in a week or two with our amazing support of our shareholders. And yeah, I love this. I think we are, without a doubt, the fastest private mining group in the world that no one's ever heard of. And I love that also. I love that fact that no one knows us.
Yeah. And I think also they people, you know, people are aware that these are quite early stage and these are, you know, there's very good opportunities, but what's attractive is the valuations are also really attractive. So there's a lot of margin for error for, you know, finally get across the finish line. If it may take an extra year or two, but there's still a lot of upside on the table, and everyone got in at a good price. And then I think that also plays through to the next, when you find a new asset, everyone, you know, they don't feel maybe bitter about something that happened before. We're like, oh, pumped it on me or something. So,
Yeah,
I
and
think,
we really respect and really appreciate all the support all of your listeners have given us over the years as well, Eric. A number of your guys made a big difference to us when we were doing it tough. And that's why we love coming on your show. And yeah, just really appreciate everything. And hey, gold's going to 7,000. So it's going to be fun second half of the year.
well, Jeremy, thank you very much. Thanks for the update on gold. Thanks for, as you said, you're wrapping up Pure Tungsten, but there's a last call at the bar, and thank you for the update on the mines and the trips are. I think there's one you said Gold Road is
Next
doing
year.
some next week.
Yep. And Pilar's week of the 13th for 3 days.
If you want to go and see any of these things, it should
Love
be
you to
fun.
come to Brazil with us. We'll look after you. It's a really amazing country. It's not just full of amazing footballers. Brazil is incredible. Yeah.
Awesome, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Eric. You're the best, mate.
Thank you.